Hey, what's going on there, folks? Earthmaster here, back on the live stream with an update video on this Wednesday night, April 12th, 2023. It's about 10:13 p.m. here along the west coast in the state of California. Latest quake shows some movement over here around Turkey with a 2.0 and a 2.9. They're coming into the same region. Did see a little bit of activity here ramping up across the plate boundaries. Let's jump into the California activity here real quick first, because we did have an oddball earthquake come into the west coast just an hour or so ago. This was a 4.3. It was measured off the northwest corner of the state of California. It never did materialize. It was set at automatic status, and I believe what happened was there was actually a one of these was a 2.6, but I think it was this 2.3 that came in at that same exact time right here that triggered, for some reason, the seismograph stations to trigger the 4.3 well off the Northern California coastline, well out into the ocean. I thought it was really weird because I've never seen any earthquake activity out here. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but it just seemed awfully weird. So apparently this earthquake triggered it. A little weird that a 2.3 would trigger a false reading, and a larger magnitude at that, way far away. So a little bit of technical issues, I would suppose, on the USGS side of that preliminary earthquake that came in as a 4.3. So this is a legit earthquake, 2.3, near Ukiah at 0.7 kilometers deep. Very shallow earthquake activity kicking up here into the coast range of Northern California. But yeah, no 4.3. That has been reviewed and dismissed by the USGS after a review of the professional folks there, the seismologists. Mount St. Helens, a couple smaller quakes here across the summit area. Let's give a quick glance at the tremor here tonight along the Cascadia. And again, pretty big number, 505 epicenters of tremor, most of it confined here to the Washington and the Vancouver Island range. And that's been like this here for, a few days. I want to bring up, let's go back since about the, let's see if we can just do this here. Let's go back since about the 1st to today's date, which is the 12th. Let's go ahead and search this out here. So about 12 days or so. 2,848 epicenters of tremor. Notice most of this activity occurring here towards the Washington area, down below this area into the Cascadia subduction zone. So it looks as though we're entering into a little bit of elevated activity. Definitely continue to keep an eye on it. We did see a little bit of movement here into Northern California. Let's go to today's activity as we look, or excuse me, Southern Oregon here. We did see a little bit of activity kicking up here into the region. So we should potentially see some further earthquake activity back building here across the we could definitely see a big earthquake here along the Cascadia. I tend to think that we're going to see a big one during a time of heightened tremor activity. But we should see a little bit of activity possibly around the Blanco fracture zone or down here around the Gorda plate. We'll definitely keep an eye on it. Right now, aside from the movement up here into the Mount St. Helens area, and Mount Rainier as well, things are fairly quiet. I did want to check out the volcanic seismicity map here around Mount St. Helens and see what we have. There's those two earthquakes here listed on the map in the red circle, indicating in the last 2 hours. Now, the seismograph stations here are, let's see if they're active. This station here is directly up at the summit area. And goodness, I'd definitely say there's a couple more than one. Notice these little spikes here. Those are earthquakes from looks like the last couple hours or so. And of course, I'm not able to see the previous day, which kind of bugs me. I like being able to see the data, but we go back here a couple days, and it looks like there's been a couple more smaller spikes here of earthquake activity. Nothing big, as you can see on the USGS map. These were some extremely small earthquakes, 0.3. So nothing really of concern there. Let's see. I know we had a little bit of activity here around the Tom's Place area. This is the Long Valley supervolcano down here. 3.0 coming in just an hour or so ago. South of Long Valley supervolcano in the mountains here, about 3.6 kilometers deep. And still seeing quite a bit of swarming here around the Clear Lake volcanic field, although not as active. Things have been kind of toning down a little bit, but notice that concentration of earthquake activity here across the region. That did see the 4.4 yesterday, late last night here, about this time or so. 2.5 kilometers deep for that earthquake. Occasionally we do get some 4-pointers out there. I want to bring up here, we're going to do the quick earthquake catalog look here. We're going to go, let's just, hold on a second here. Let's make this custom. And minimum magnitude 4.0. And I just want to check here over the last couple years or so. Let's go 2015. No specific reason why I clicked that, but let's see what we got here. We're on the Clear Lake volcanic field. I just want to take a look here, see how many larger earthquakes have taken place here in this area around the Cobb Mountain region. Not anywhere along the San Andreas Fault, but just specifically here within this area of the Calpine hydrothermal operation. So 4.0 and above since 2015. It's loading, so well, that's not a lot. See, 4-pointers don't occur there very often, so it looks as though this 4.4 that we've seen there yesterday is about the largest in since about 2015 or so. Right? At least according to the USGS here. And all of these, of course, I'm sure are very close to the operations here. Look at this earthquake right next to this facility. That's some hydrothermal operations there. Whole process. Calpine hydrothermal operations. Creating a little bit of earthquake activity out there throughout history. But today's activity in that region, definitely a little bit more calmer, but still very active. 208 earthquakes here in the last 24 hours around the Clear Lake volcanic field. Pretty good number. All right. What else do we have here? One earthquake on the creeping section, the creeping segment. 1.2 near the Parkfield area. Further down south, the San Andreas Fault now, fairly quiet. Has been quiet for a little while. I'm sure we'll see that pick up eventually, just a matter of time. What will trigger it? Who knows? Just have to keep an eye on it. Yellowstone National Park, not a whole lot going on. We got a little activity throughout Utah, but really not too much activity to write home about. A look at the Yellowstone seismograph stations here shows there is one earthquake over here, and it looks as though it's around the eastern area of the park here. Didn't really show up too much here around the northwestern corner, but more so around the Parker Peak area. And I'm kind of chatting about this little spike of a signature. It did show up on the Soda Butte, Parker Peak area, Lake Butte, and the Promontory, but not so much over here. So maybe around Holmes Hill, but it looks strongest over on the eastern segment of the park. And there's nothing showing up here across Yellowstone or anywhere within this vicinity of the stations that we're checking out. So hard to say exactly what that was. What do we got? Arkansas region, New Madrid seismic zone. A couple smaller earthquakes this morning, it looks like. 2.3 and a 1.7. Puerto Rico area still swarming down here around the Puerto Rico Trench. Kind of stretching up here around the mainland area northward. Look at the EMSC model here. Looks about the same. We are seeing some movement here around the Middle America Trench in the last few hours and throughout the day as well. That's missing off the USGS map. But just note that there is some movement going on there as listed on the map. South America, fairly quiet. Got 2.6 and a couple other smaller quakes down there. Further to the west here across the Pacific, some deeper movement stretching very close here to the New Zealand area. Been kind of watching this migration of earthquake activity here over the last couple days. Kind of started up here around the Fiji area and slowly been working its way down here across the Kermadec Trench towards New Zealand. The last earthquake here is a 5.0, but as you can see here on the map, we did have a 4.2 and a 3.0. Along the Kermadec Trench and very close to the New Zealand area. Let me go to the GeoNet servers here and see what they're reporting. The all magnitudes map here, 2.0. There's that 4.2, 369 kilometers deep there. It looks like it is into the Kermadec Trench up north. Notice that earthquake right here. So either way, a little bit of deeper movement and working its way down south. 2.4, a couple other smaller quakes. There's the 3.2, 100 kilometers deep. It kind of looks like it's in the, potentially the northern end of the Hikurangi subduction zone down here, or very close to it. Glance here at the earthquake drums. See what we have across the area. Not a whole lot of noticeable uptick, so we'll just kind of jump over that. I mean, the only thing that really would catch my eye is like a bunch of signatures out there on the graph, and it's just not taking place there right now. Papua New Guinea definitely been showing some activity here tonight, and specifically tonight with quite a few fours kicking off here around the Banda Sea eastward. A little bit of back building, getting some deeper movement quakes followed up by some shallower earthquake activity. So this region is definitely noteworthy to watch, considering this this type of setup with the shallower and deeper movement kicking off right after each other. Wide swath here of earthquake activity up north into the Japan region. Did have a 4.4, it looks like. Yep, USGS is reporting that coming in earlier this evening, about 31 kilometers deep. That leaves the Philippine plate here in the very quiet zone. Look at that, not a whole lot of activity occurring here now, but if you really think about it, we did see some activity here yesterday and the day before. Down here on the southern end of Philippine Trench, it looks like a couple threes coming in. All right, some of the newer activity, some of the more interesting activity, I would say, is this newer movement occurring along the Sumatra area, the northern end of the Java Trench. Around the Andaman Sea, a 5.2 coming in. If you remember, this area over the last 7 days or so has been seeing a pretty good swarm of earthquake activity. So this 5.2 coming in. We've had other fives in there, some mid-fives it looks like, but it has been quiet for, I would say, a day and a half or so. And now all of a sudden we get that 5.2 coming in. So this tells me right here there's still quite a bit of stress and buildup and momentum wanting to shoot up this area. I don't think we're done with the larger quakes out here. So keep a very close eye on the Andaman Sea area. We did see an earthquake. This is an odd one here, an intraplate earthquake, well away from the plate boundary. This could be an indicator of the extreme stress around this region, so definitely keep an eye on it. Another earthquake over here, 5.4 near the Owen Fracture Zone, Arabian Sea area. Coming in, looks like earlier this evening. This is in a zone that does see a little bit of activity. Looking at the earthquake since about 1900 or so, 4.5 and above. Well, you can see here there's pretty much count them. There's not a whole lot, but on occasion this area does see a little bit of activity. And deep activity, I find that kind of odd. So wait a minute, USGS are reporting this as 10 kilometers. right? 5.4. So looks like EMSC is this one here reporting a 5.2. I'm not for sure why the USGS earthquake isn't showing up on here. Little odd. You guys notice that? That's a little on the strange side. All right, either way, definitely watch this region. I would say this 5.2 is not correct in the depth of this earthquake. 151 kilometers deep. That would be rather odd for a for the fracture zone right there. That just doesn't seem right. Either way, we got some activity definitely ramping up here in this area. Turkey region showing some movement across the Mediterranean as well. The Atlantic Ocean very quiet and calm for now. Not a whole lot going on in the Hawaii area or Alaska. We do have one little earthquake back prior to the subduction zone. That's a 3.6. The subduction zone here begins just to the north with the Pacific plate to the south, North American plate here on the northern side. This area sees some very damaging earthquakes. But for now, a little small three-pointer. Getting a little group of earthquake activity here across the Trident, Volcano, Mount Martin area. Nothing major popping off. Just a little bit of elevated earthquake activity in that region. Here's another kind of a back-building earthquake here near the Rat Islands area, Aleutian Trench. From early this morning, it looks like. Alrighty. So yeah, just a lot of elevated movement here across this area of the world. We'll watch this very closely. Our last, let's see here. When was our last somewhat larger earthquake? It was back on the we did have a 7.0 Papua New Guinea, Kermadec Islands. Kind of looking for some quiet zones out here. Yeah, kind of hard to say. We got a lot of movement. There's definitely been a lot of movement, but I think here with this migration of deeper activity across the Kermadec Trench southward, we should be seeing some further movement out here across New Zealand. A little bit more than what we're seeing currently taking place. All right, let's see space weather activity here real quick. Fairly calm for the most part. We're getting a little bit of, well, popcorn. It kind of reminds me of some popcorn. Very sharp, spiky information coming in here. Data coming into the graph indicating some C-flare activity over the last couple hours, it looks like, and I believe most of that's coming from this Sunspot area down here, potentially up north as well. There's a couple new regions that we're watching very closely. Could spell a little bit of trouble for some future flaring. The magnetic structure here still looks somewhat promising here across this Earth-facing side sunspot. But notice this huge region down here. Does look fairly promising in terms of probably some stronger flares here as we head into the weekend and next week. We'll watch that very closely. Another newer sunspot area that we're watching as well. Look, just barely getting a glimpse of it coming up around the northeastern side of the sun. Overall threat right now looks like a 95% chance for a C flare. M flare elevated at 45% chance. And of course we do have a 10% chance of an X flare from those mentioned sunspots. Definitely keep an eye on it for some strong flaring here. It can just kind of pop up out of the blue. No major auroras going on, so not a whole lot of greenery up there in the sky tonight. Very minimal conditions. We do have I'm underneath a wind advisory right now. We're expecting wind up here around 45 miles per hour or so. I'm hoping the stream will stay up. If it doesn't, if it does go down sometime in the middle of the night, then you guys know why. Just outside of Chico here we got some wind gusts up around 35 miles per hour or so. I think that's supposed to kick up overnight, and then taper back down sometime tomorrow, according to the windy forecast here. Let's see what else we got here for the weather. Not a whole lot over the next day or so, but potentially it looks like on day 3, which is going to be on a Friday. Looks like there's a slight chance of some severe weather across Kansas, Oklahoma, and northern Texas. We'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow, as the weather models will probably be more accurate. As far as West Coast activity here, real quick glance at the weather along the western U.S. Here's our pressure gradients here. That's kicking up the wind. Got a whole lot of stuff going on. High pressure and low pressure kind of building in there. Look at the weather models here. Shows our next chance of rain and snow. It looks like around the 17th, 18th of April. And man, that gets pretty interesting there. Fairly active as we head towards the April 20th and 21st time frame. So we'll watch that. Goodness, that's some good southwest moisture flow. That can bring in quite a bit of rainfall. And notice that there's not a whole lot of snow associated with that storm system coming in. All warmer environments until it looks like maybe there's a little bit of snow at the higher extreme elevations. But yeah, quite the winter, let me tell you. It's almost like a never-ending winter, but we like it. We like it wet, and it keeps everything green. Let me tell you, it's good for the environment. Alrighty. Trying to think if there's anything else, folks. I think that's about it. Good evening, good night to everyone out there, and welcome to the new members. We're doing, of course, our drawing here. Going to be mentioning it every night just so we can get it out. We're doing the member drawing here on the 15th. Here in a couple days, put all our members into a fish bowl and swirl it around, and probably have Missy Mimi's pick out a winner. And that winner will be given an option to get a $50 Visa or MasterCard gift card, or if they want a Cool Earth Master t-shirt, or if they want a geology mining kit, that's an option as well. So we do this every single month. I think we started it back in August or September of last year, so it's just been non-stop. We do it every single month here, and made quite a few members out here fairly happy. Always nice to win some prizes. So if you want your shot of winning some prizes, make sure you're on the members list. And there's a join button here on the channel. I don't know if you can still join, or if you can join yet on the mobile device. I think you have to be on a laptop or your desktop computer on the actual internet, or web browser. Things are blowing around outside. I got an orange tree that's kind of dropping some oranges because of this heavy wind. But either way, all right, guys, we'll bounce off here. We'll see you guys sometime tomorrow. Dropping off the West Coast earthquake watch because of that that earlier earthquake being deleted. I'm not really seeing any elevated signs out here aside from the Clear Lake volcanic field, but I haven't really seen any noticeable uptick across the San Andreas Fault or any other fault systems except for that Clear Lake volcanic field, which is, there's something going on there. But I believe that's all in relation with the ongoing activities there with the hydrothermal plant. So we'll drop that for now. Either way, stay safe, and we'll catch you guys back here sometime tomorrow. Take care, folks.